All right, so today's lesson is all about storytelling, and we are going to be covering the 5 hooks of social change storytelling to enable you to identify which ones resonate most with your campaign and give you the best chance of succeeding to connect that story with the values of your potential donors. We're also going to share some tips on creating great video without a big budget. So, fundraising, as you may well know if you've written grant applications before or if you've been involved in any other fundraising, whether it's events or pitching to donors or high net worth individuals. Fundraising, bottom line, is all about storytelling. And your goal is to tell a story that inspires your supporters to take action and pledge towards your campaign. And crowdfunding is no exception. So, how do you identify the story about your project that's going to resonate most with your potential supporters? And this is where we talk about the 5 hooks of social change storytelling. Because after supporting hundreds of social impacts across 24 countries, at Start Some Good here, we've identified that there are 5 common stories that most campaigns use to inspire people to support them. Of course, most campaigns won't fall neatly into these 5 categories. Rather, you should think about which of these are the strongest stories for you to tell and whom these stories will resonate with most. So, number 1 is the issue story. So, this is all about your why. So ask yourself, what is the issue or cause that your campaign addresses? And who are the communities or individuals who care about this issue? We've listed some examples below in this email, and do go ahead and grab the worksheet to start to note down the issues that you're going to be impacting, which will enable you to tell stories around that issue to connect with the values of your supporters. For example, the Black Rainbow used the issue story. They had 2 issues, in fact: the Indigenous suicide prevention in Australia and mental health support for the LGBTI community. Now, this campaign connected with over 400 donors by reaching individuals, organizations, and bloggers, for example, who cared about those issues, which those 2 issues may be quite different and people may care about one more than the other. So you want to make sure you're getting the right story in front of the right audience. The second social change story hook is the place story. So this is all about the where, your location. So have a think. Is there a particular geographic region, for example, a town, city, or country, that your project benefits? And who are the people who care about that particular place? For example, in the case of Gali Gali, they were creating an open source mapping tool to better reveal the diversity, history, and economy of Kathmandu. So their story is largely Kathmandu's story, a place of vibrant and undiscovered culture. And this story resonates with those who live in that location, but also with anyone who has a memorable or moving experience in that location. The third story hook is the innovation story. So it's the how. How are you going about solving this particular problem or impacting this particular issue? Is it innovative? So ask yourself, is there something about your project that is particularly new, unique, or innovative? And who might be interested in this innovation, even if they wouldn't usually be engaged by your issue? They might be excited by your approach to that issue. So, a great example is Ripe Near Me, which was founded to bring together the ultra local food community through their innovative iPad app. They connected to over 300 donors who not only supported the local food movement, but understood how the added value of such technology could give the community an even bigger push forward. So there will be people out there who care about iPads regardless of whether local food culture is important to them, and they might be willing to support purely based on the innovation around the technology being used for the project. going to move in now to how to tell your story, including creating a great video. So, before we move into video, just a few tips on how to actually write your story in a really inspiring way. We do recommend you use images. So, as the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, great quality photographs and nicely designed promotional images are fantastic for making your campaign easy on the eye and shareable on social media. We also recommend that when it comes to writing your story, that you break it down into subheadings and structure your story in a way that, there are many ways to do this, but it can be really powerful to lead with like a statement that gives us a really clear idea of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Then you can lead into telling your vision for a better world. So remembering to lean into that big picture vision. Then tell us about the problem or the barriers that have been encountered which block people from reaching this bigger vision. So, outlining the problem gives us a sense of what's really at stake here, and then coming back to explain how your project provides the solution. So, that way you're sandwiching the problem in between your big vision and your project as the solution. Then tell us about your team, your fundraising goal, and finish with a call to action. So, by breaking up your story into those subheadings, complementing it with some pictures really makes it easy on the eye, particularly for users who are scrolling on mobile. Finally, if you can, use diagrams to map out anything that is fairly complex in a visual way, again, just to make it easier for the audience to understand what you're doing. I want to talk a bit about video now and how to use video for storytelling. It's one of the most effective mediums to connect with your supporters on an emotional level and communicate that future that you're creating. So, I want to run through 4 of the most important things for you to consider when you're creating your crowdfunding video. So, number 1, this is not Hollywood. Remind yourself that you don't have to produce a really big budget film for your crowdfunding campaign. You don't have a $2 million budget to create a viral video ad. This is your project and your story. So all that you really require is authenticity. It can be recorded on your smartphone or on a small digital camera. And don't worry if you're an amateur and it shows. Just remember to keep it simple. Looking directly at the camera to tell your story and to communicate really gives it that human connection, which is what we need most. Remembering the job of your crowdfunding video is to help your donors get to know you, like you, and trust you. And so just shooting a video straight on your smartphone in many cases will be enough. If you want to get fancy, you could cut in some photo montages or video montages with either your benefactors or some of your partners, or maybe some images from the project as well. And I do recommend, if you don't have a budget for creating video, call in some favors from friends. Put the word out there. You might even be able to strike a pro bono deal or a post-payment deal. If your campaign succeeds, you then provide a fee to the videographer or give them some credits, or shout outs in your campaign as well. So do think creatively about how to call in favors if editing is not your strong point.